Hey guys, it's Lane here. The first podcast made by investors for investors. It's a short one today. We have a listener question, and that question is, why would I not just buy one $100,000 property that rents for $1,000 a month rather than mortgage properties? I hear you say all the time that you don't suspect that be any appreciation or very little. So why would I not pay in cash and eliminate all the risks? To answer this question, first I want to say I'm not a lawyer. But you got to view another way of risk here. The risk that we don't think about is having the equity tied up in your property. If there was ever a lawsuit, you can bet that you're a bigger target if you have a bunch of equity in the property. If you have prudently leveraged your investment, it's going to be a smaller target to go after. So that's one thing to think of. Another thing is a lot of experienced investors and non-experienced investors use large sums of cash to obtain properties at great discounts, like 70 to 80 cents on the dollar. Paying cash obviously commands a lot of respect from the seller, as the buyer looks very serious and typically they can strong arm the other investors or buyers looking to purchase the property. I'm going to try my best to go over these numbers with you, but it's pretty hard in this audio format. Check out my article on the hidden returns of real estate. In the first scenario, you'd use all cash. So let's say you buy a property that's $100,000 and your money in the deal, because you paid cash, is about $75,000. Now, assume that you have an annual cash flow of $12,000, assuming the 1% rule. Your cash on cash return would be that $12,000 divided by $75,000, which was the money in the deal. So 12 divided by 75, that's 16%. So remember 16%. Scenario B is the typical 20% down deal using the Fannie Mae loan, which I recommend on your first 10 deals. Using the market value of $100,000, that's your purchase price too, because you're using financing. You're not going to get that deal right off the top. Even if you're purchasing the property at market value, you got 20% money in the deal, and let's just say you have an extra $3,000 for closing costs on top of that. So you're in the deal for about $23,000, same annual cash flow as the first scenario, 12 months times $1,000 minus your $540 PITI payment. Assuming the 1% rule, your annual cash flow is $55,000 approximately. So you take that $55,000 divided by 2,300. This is your cash return, and that's 24%. So 24% compared to 16% in the first scenario of the all cash. Obviously, 24 is greater than 16% by using the leverage in the conventional financing. Conclusion here is, under these circumstances, purchasing all cash would yield about 8% less in returns on your principal investment. While the cash on cash return will vary between properties, remember this is just one of the 4 or 5 ways you're making money on this investment. Do the math for yourself. I know a lot of other investors always mention, I don't want to take on additional debt, or I don't want to get more interest rates or paying more interest. That's more of a beginner's way of looking at the whole situation. Sophisticated investors don't look at interest rate or amount of debt they have, but they look at the cash flow and the amount of net worth that they're accumulating. That might sound a little irresponsible, but just think about it and challenge your dogma way of thinking. It took me a while to get over that Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman way of thinking, and to start thinking like how a bank or a business goes about what they do. If you're a manufacturing plant creating X amount of profit, they go into debt to get a bigger factory so they can produce 2X profit. But as I always say, do your own thinking for yourself and come to your own conclusions. Action plan, which is to look for the lazy money in your home or in your investments. Look for anything that's not making at least a 10% return and consider putting it into real estate. I'm going to leave you guys with a pretty controversial quote, and that is, diversification is for idiots. See you guys next time. Bye.